Today's so comfy. We should get comfier. Zip! So I know a lot of you guys know that Tashi is my old persona from before I was a VTuber. So Tashi is the ASMR roleplay girl. But Tashi never really had a personality. Tashi was never her own person because all I ever posted on that channel was audio roleplays. So I was always a different character. You know, one day I was a yandere, one day I was a tsundere, one day I was a classmate, the next day I was a girlfriend, the next day I was a vampire, you know? It was just sort of like a character to be a placeholder to represent all these different tropes and all these different scenarios. But I was never able to really be me. I was really nervous when I made the swap to being a VTuber because I had built a whole audience around just the way my voice sounds and not really who I was as a person. I was nervous because I was like, well, what if people don't like it? What if people are just like, no, go back to being my ideal waifu, please? Tashi is always going to be a part of me and my lore and my backstory and how I came to be and how I became a content creator. And we actually just celebrated 5 years since I started the Tashi channel, which is really, really cool. It feels like I can be more myself here, and I value that a lot. Can see why Tashi would be jelly of Sinder. Tashi was just a character trope. I was really nervous to do stuff live for a long time because I had grown up being a perfectionist. I started being a cosplayer when I was very young, and I would compete in professional craftsmanship competitions, and I was always being judged on my workmanship and my quality. So everything had to be perfect. But I loved competing because I had so much fun with it, but it was very stressful. And it got to a point where not only did my craftsmanship have to be perfect, but if I wanted to promote myself on social media, the beauty standards are pretty intense. And it's like, you always have to look perfect. And everything you post has to look perfect. And everything had to be perfect, perfect, perfect. And it made me so stressed. So I kind of took a step back during the pandemic because conventions were no longer able to run with the lockdown. So that's when I started doing ASMR on YouTube. And in my perfectionist brain, there couldn't be any mouth sounds. There couldn't be any background noise. There couldn't be any tripping over my words or stuttering, which is, I do that a lot. So that's why I was especially nervous to start streaming because you can't edit out any mouth sounds or stutters. So it took me a long time to be okay with that and get used to it, to kind of break away from the perfectionist mindset. Lots of small things that you can clean up, but live, you become way more aware of it. Oh my goodness. I was so aware of how I sounded when I was talking. I've completely changed my entire speech pattern from doing ASMR audios. There are things called plosives when you speak, and it's what makes your microphone pop. So plosives are like P's and B's. And S's are also like a harsher kind of sound. The biggest thing for me were S's. I don't close my mouth all the way when I say S sounds anymore because of that, because it's softer. Wasn't gonna mention it, but when I switched to the Tashi colors, I started doing the